Hey there, I'm Nivmiz and I like to make games. A couple months ago, I posted the video you just saw about adding wall running into my game, and it kind of blew up. The result though, is that most of the people who've seen the game have seen my terrible programmer art city with flat, ugly textures for walls. Today, I'm gonna fix that. But before we get into that, my game Singularium has a Steam page. If you like what you see, please go there now and add it to your wishlist. It helps a ton with visibility on Steam, and it's the best free way to support the game's development. Now, in order to improve the visuals for the city level, I used 3 techniques: better 3D models, reflections, and most importantly, atmosphere. First, I had to improve these awful building models. For one, they were literally just cubes with a window texture I found online drawn onto them. There was no depth, and the rooftops were just flat black 3D trapezoids. Also, there was only one type of building, which made the environment look super repetitive and gamey, and completely destroyed all the immersion you'd get from playing in first person. You guys already know that I'm a pretty terrible artist. So Jupiter Crusher from the Discord, link in the description by the way if you want to join, came in clutch and made these awesome buildings with proper rooftops and window frames. They also made a bunch of different variations of it, and already this looks more like an actual city than before. Now for reflections. The previous version had flat textures with 0 window reflections whatsoever. If I want to make my player feel like a superhero swinging and weaving through a city, reflections on the windows can add a ton to that feeling of immersion. I set it up, but even now, they aren't super accurate to what would actually be reflected. I'll of course keep working on improving the accuracy, but even now I think it looks absolutely amazing, and there's a world of difference between the old city and this one. Hey, but before we get into the third and most influential technique, a word from our sponsor, Raid Shadow. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's me. I have a Patreon page, and if you like the way the game is shaping up and want to playtest it in its current version, or if you just want to support me in the game's development, please do go sign up. It's a massive help to me as I'm developing Singularium alone, and you get some awesome perks in return. Back to the video. The most important of the 3 techniques, and this one goes for any environment, not just a city, is atmosphere. Making an area look unique and make the player feel a certain way adds to the immersion and also just makes it look more visually pleasing and cohesive. I first decided on the atmosphere I wanted to achieve, a cramped, futuristic city where brown, dusty smog fills the air and massive skyscrapers are placed tightly together in strange, disorganized patterns. To get this atmosphere, I used a very dense distance fog, which I colored brown, and some film grain to get something that looks like smog. I also played around with the lighting to get the right amount of darkness, and there we go. Compared to the other city, it's absolutely night and day. This one looks way darker and more atmospheric, and also the buildings themselves just look way better. Now that the city looks better, it's time to make it stand out mechanically. In the previous version, you could only wall run for short bursts on the outer walls of the buildings, but now that wall riding is a mechanic that lets you gain speed, I had to implement a way to maintain it for a longer time. Luckily, one of the models Jupiter Crusher sent had a hole going through it. I used these holes to create little tunnels that allow you to wall run and jump to gain a bunch of speed before shooting out of them. It honestly makes you feel like a badass, and I'm super happy with how it feels to play in the city now. I forgot to mention, this city will be the first zone of the game. You have a lot of freedom to move around, jumping across rooftops and wall running through alleys, so it's a very different vibe to the more closed levels in the other zones. But it's very fun to play and meshes well with the existing gameplay and mechanics. Another massive improvement to the visuals of Singularium that I made these past 2 weeks is the lighting in the sewer levels. Previously, there was just one big global light that illuminated the entire map, and while that looked decent, I wanted something more. I thought adding light bulbs to the ceilings could not only help make the environment make a little more sense, it would also improve the atmosphere. And just like in the city environment, atmosphere is super important here. Here's what the sewers look like now. I think they look way more interesting and polished now, and I'm quite happy with the game's visual identity. And that's everything I did to upgrade the visuals and gameplay in Singularium. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you want to see more devlogs. Like if you liked the video, and dislike if you didn't. Wishlist Singularium on Steam, and till next time, bye! I want to give a massive thanks to all the Patreon supporters: No_Dream366, Sewerman, Logic Tom, The Jumping Box, Blitzer, Chris Young, Paris Kiyu, Spotty the Turtle, Daniel, and Spygun21.